welcome to my basement finishing project. It's really dark. I'm sorry about the lighting. It's just, it is what it is. Right now, all I have is these, where the builder installed just these pole lights. I've got a standalone LED light that's there behind the camera trying to give a little bit of extra light. But it's not a great lighting setup, so bear with me as I start to record some of this. Anyway, let me walk around the basement and show you what we're working with here. Okay, now, so I've owned this house since 2007 and we never finished the basement. So it's time. I got two little boys and we need some space for them to run around and cause havoc, not in the main living area. So this is going to be the space that we build out for them as well as for myself. We got a fairly good amount of space down here. I'm going to be finishing up just under 1,300 square feet. As you can see, the lighting is, if I turn the LED light here, this area back here is going to be the kids play area, and then this section of the basement is going to be kind of an entertainment center, and then back over here behind where I have all my gear set up close to where my compressor is going to be a wet bar. This will have a wall covering it, and back behind it to the right is going to be unfinished storage. This will be a hallway right here, pretty close to where that chalk box is. That's going to be a wall. This is going to be a narrow wall. It's about 4 feet wide, and then in this space is going to be a home gym. Over here you can see I've got a 3-piece rough-in for a full bath. So this area here is going to be a full bath with a stand-up shower, and then a single toilet and probably a single sink. Depending on if we have space, I might put 2 sinks in there, but most likely it'll be a single sink. That little space back here, probably 5 feet by 5 feet, is going to stay unfinished where the electric panel is. And then back here where I didn't turn a light on, turn a light on. You can see the lights I'm talking about. Just your standard pull chain lights. In here will be unfinished storage. So it'll be basically right to hide this pole. I've actually drawn the lines on the floor already. This whole space back here. It's also where all of the mechanical stuff is, the HVAC and water heater, gas lines, and also my home wiring for internet and cable. This is actually going to be another project as well. I'm actually going to redo this. So if you guys have a house that, you know, got phone lines installed and old, you know, Cat 5 wiring that needs to be redone, follow along because I'll actually make a video about that later. I bought a new wall mounted rack. It's a 3 RU wall mounted rack with a new switch and a PDU for power, and then I'll redo all this stuff so that it comes through and will look a whole lot better than that jumbled mess. But yeah, this is just a quick introduction to what I'll be doing. I don't have all my materials yet, but I picked up a little bit. Today I'm going to be installing cats up here so that I'll have a place to actually, when I put in the framing for the wall, I'll actually have a place to tie it in the ceiling. You can see right now that beam, there's nothing there to tie it into. I'll take a walk around to show you the stuff that I've already done. I really haven't done a whole lot yet, but I've got it started. I've marked out all my walls on all the floors, so you can see what I've done here. I got chalk lines snapped to show where the wall is going to be, and then the X's are show to where to set the actual framing. It's going to be a bottom plate goes down there. The bottom plate is going to be pressure treated 2x4, and then all the studs are just white wood, kiln dried, non-treated. Anyway, I've done all of the lines. They go all the way around the basement. This is builder provided wall wrap, so I'm going to use that. But You can see where all the lines are. I am not a professional. I do not do this for a living. In fact, I am just following instructions that I found on other YouTube channels. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, follow along. It'll probably take me a couple of months to get all this done. I'm going to do a lot of it myself. Some of the stuff I'm actually going to sub out. Probably electrical work I will sub out. Drywall and taping and mudding, because that does not appeal to me. Yeah, but anyway, today I'm just going to start cutting up some small pieces of 2x4 to run the cats. I'll also show you the county that I live in requires fire blocking as part of the code, so I'll probably show some installation of fire blocking as well. So if you have that requirement in your county or township or wherever it is that you live, I'll show you how to do some of that as well. So anyway, let's get started. The first thing I want to show up here is how to take a measurement in between this beam and the beam that runs there's a beam that sits on top of the foundation. This is a concrete wall foundation that goes all the way around. So you're going to measure between this beam and this beam, and then I'm just going to transfer that mark onto a 2x4, make a couple of cuts, come up here, and then actually shoot them in with my nail gun, and that's it. So essentially what you want to do is you want to fill up this space every probably 2 or 3 feet or so to give yourself something to actually nail the wall when you stand the wall up. So I'll take 2 measurements of this really quick. I'll transfer it onto here. I'll make a cut. I'll put it on. That way you can see how to do it. And then essentially what you're going to do is I'm going to install cats all the way around anytime I have an open space along the basement wall. First thing you're going to want to do is pull this insulation up out of the way, and then stick your tape measure right up against that part and measure it against this beam and get your measurement. So that one's going to be 17 5/8. And that one also is going to be 17 5/8. So let's walk over to the wood and make some marks. Alright, so now I have my piece of wood here. I've got my speed square, a carpenter's pencil, and a tape measure. You don't need anything else for that. We're going to transfer our marks here onto the table. 17 5/8. Take our speed square, make that a straight line. I got my 2x4 here. I got my miter box. Anytime you're cutting wood or anything that can throw, if you're cutting wood or metal, really if you're cutting anything, make sure you have eye pro, protect your eyes. I also wear ear protection to keep the sound down, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of cutting over and over and over again. These things get really loud. There's one. There's 2. So let's go put them up. Alright, so I have my piece of 2x4 cut here, and now I'm going to go ahead and run the nails in and just kind of mount it up so you can see what that looks like, and just go from there. Alright, there you have it. Nice solid installed piece. So now when I stand up my wall right up here, I'll have a nice solid piece of wood in order to tack it to, and we'll be good to go. We'll have a nice solid wall. So what I'll do is I'll finish installing them every 2 feet all the way through. So there's something else I wanted to show you before I install these cats all the way down this beam. This is the one spot where I took the first couple of measurements, but as you get over here you'll notice that the floor above me, which is the family room in my house, there's wiring that has been tacked to the board all the way down, as you can see. So clearly I will need to remove those and relocate them. If this was done in your house by your builder when they actually installed it and you didn't finish your basement up front like I did, then you'll need to take these staples out and move the wires up and re-tack them to the beam a little bit higher up. That way you have space. Anyway, I'm going to do that and we'll carry on. Alright, so I finished up this wall. I'm going to show you, I messed one of them up, so I'm going to actually go back and redo it, but I wanted to show you, I cut it just a little bit wrong on my miter saw. It was just a slight angle off. It caused me to actually mount the piece of wood in the ceiling at an angle. So I'm going to show you actually how that looks. That way you can avoid trying to do that yourself. But I went ahead and installed all of them all the way down 2 feet apart. And you can spot the jacked up one right here. So if you look right there, you can see I didn't quite cut it straight. And when I put it up there, it definitely got nailed in crooked. So I'm actually going to pull that one down and redo it. Alright, well, I'm down to installing my last few, put the blocking along the wall. You can see I'm getting ready to put this one in, but I just put that one in and that one in. And when I finish doing these last few, I'll walk around the basement here just to show you all the ones that I did. I got a lot more comfortable with it after the first set that I did. This being my very first time ever using a nail gun, I was a little bit uncomfortable with that at first, but I'll share some thoughts with you when I wrap this all up, just to kind of give people that have never used a nail gun before a couple of pointers, things that I just learned you know, over the last couple of hours down here in the basement trying this out for myself. So anyway, let me jump up the ladder here and put this last one in here. So I'll finish up. I'll put another nail into the back piece of this here. But what I wanted to show from this was these have gotten much better from when I first started. Got the measurements cut a lot better, a lot closer. I had to use the hammer to snug this into place, which is what you want. You want it to be just slightly tight when you're knocking it into place. And I got much better with my measurements and my cuts as I went along. Basically, I just have, I made a mark here. I got 1 and then 2 left to do on this wall. And then I'll be done. But I'll walk around really quick to show you all the ones that I finished. That one there, this whole wall. I didn't put one here because I'm actually going to install a drop ladder to put a soffit in. It's going to go on both sides of this beam and that HVAC stuff. Some along on this wall as well. I put a couple in here because I'm going to have a wall that basically spans and covers and hides that pole all the way across. So I had to put a couple in here so I could stand the wall up on that. I also have a few in this section of the basement as well. So anyway, I feel like I've come a long way here in the last couple hours. Now each one of them only takes me a couple of minutes, whereas the first one I was cutting and measuring and being, you know, overly cautious just in, you know, in general, which I think you should, just because, you know, some of this equipment is fairly dangerous if you're not paying very close attention. So, you know, I don't want to hurt myself, so I've been, you know, going slowly, as I would recommend for other people that are, you know, beginners at doing this as well. Some of the things that I noticed about using the nail gun are if I push a lot harder and I make sure that the nail gun is actually kind of dug in to the 2x4 before I pull the trigger, the nail sets a lot better. I also adjusted the on the nail gun, there's an adjustment to see how far it sinks the nail either in or out of the 2x4, so I adjusted that to get that good as well. I have it set, my compressor back there, but I have the air pressure set to 100 pounds, 100 psi, which seems to be working fairly well. The gun is, it's a Metabo nail gun, which is basically rated to shoot anywhere between 70 and 120 psi, so I would try to pick something right in the middle, right about 100. Seems to be working just fine for me. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So when I get done with this, I'm going to call it for the day. I'm going to go upstairs and get cleaned up. So this is literally the first time I have ever used a nail gun of any sort. I'm not a person who does construction for a living. This just goes to show you that if you try and do some research, you can do this stuff on your own at home. Follow along on the process as I go along. I'll show you as much as I can. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but don't be scared of doing this stuff yourself. Right? These are the results. It probably took me a lot longer than it would a professional, but I did it myself. And it looks pretty good. So anyway, follow me along as I finish out my basement. Maybe you pick up some tips along the way. Maybe it'll inspire you to do some home improvements yourself. I'm convinced that I could do it myself. My wife, she wasn't convinced, but so far so good. I'm going to shoot laser lines on all of the walls that I've measured out for myself from the floor up to the ceiling and across all the cats, and then I'm going to make marks so that way I can go and order my lumber and then actually start to begin the framing. So anyway, stick around for that part. If you find this interesting, give me a thumbs up, follow along by subscribing, and yeah, we'll see you the next time.